Welcome everyone on the second session of today's conference. So I will use this time to promote briefly my favorite construct, which is digital competence, because everyone's talking about AI and AI literacy these days, but I still believe in it. So I would like to show you why it is important even today with the age of AI and within this AI revolution context. And of course, since the whole conference is about education, I would like to also present to you the current status, dilemmas, questions which we can talk about related to the development and to the facilitation of these constructs. And when we combine the two together, so digital competence and AI literacy, we can really see a much wider picture which can help us as educators, as researchers, or as teachers, lecturers, or even students here in the university. Just very briefly, a bit of a forward about what we see today is this rapid technological development of the 21st century, the fourth industrial revolution or the AI revolution which we live today. But what we see that while we see a lot of new technological innovations, we see newer and newer models published every week, a new picture generation, a new AI for legal, financial services, which we can see actually every week. On the other hand, the scientific evidence is still just slowly catching up. And this is a huge issue for us here in the university, as we see that the pace of the technological process and the whole inertia of the scientific community and the educational system is a bit misaligned. We try to figure out what's next without the proper resources. As you can think about, and you can hear it in the news, that how much billions of dollars are invested in AI infrastructure, model building. Can you compare it to the investments to educational research? So that's a huge issue these days. While what we see is that actually we are the ones we will use it, and that's very important to promote the 21st century skills and to prepare our students for this new age, which we know actually nothing about, and that's a really huge issue of today's education. In secondary level or also in the higher education level as well. What we also see from multiple decades now, that using digital technology in everyday life, in work, or in teaching and learning is not an advantage for someone, but actually a necessity. And actually what we see from research evidence as well, that the lack of digital competence, which is actually the knowledge, skills, attitudes, how humans can use effectively and responsibly technology, is so the lack of this competence can be a significant disadvantage. It is not a very current graph, but you can see that here in Hungary we are lagging behind other European countries in the terms of digital skills of the society, of the adult population. And we are very slowly catching up, but actually this drawback is not disappearing, but actually even growing these days. So what we see in the terms of AI in education, that we already see in the middle of the 21st century that learning today is a very complex ecosystem. So it's outside the classroom environment these days. It's an integration of formal, non-formal, and informal spaces. And if we would like to integrate technology into education, we need to base our decisions on the empirical research evidence, which is slowly catching up, as I have mentioned already. But as they slowly catching up, we already see very interesting research on the field of AI as well, and I will bring today some aspects of it related to the digital competence framework. So here you can see the latest digital competence framework of the European Union, the DigComp 3.0. Actually, it has 5 major areas. We will go through all of them. I would just like to briefly highlight the different competencies which are aligned with this framework. Actually, it covers all the activities related to technology, internet use, and also AI use these days, from browsing, searching, until till problem solving. So everything will be covered today. But I would like to also present to you briefly, but I don't want to overshoot because Laszlo will also mention this. There's a newly published OECD framework for AI literacy, and we can clearly see a picture about the knowledge, skills, and attitudes related to the AI use of human beings. And this AI literacy frameworks also presented us a very great overview how AI literacy is related to already well-defined and used constructs which we often based our instruction here in the university as well, and which we already built into our curriculum. And as you can see, it's very strongly connected to ethics, of course, also digital literacy, media, data science, design thinking, and computer science. What we see is that there are many challenges, on the other hand, regarding to all of these issues, because these constructs are already forming and changing as we use AI more and more in these days. So as I have mentioned, I would like to briefly go through on the 5 areas of the DigComp framework, starting with the information search, evaluation, and management. Our colleagues, Brent and Carrie, already has mentioned, for example, searching for pictures in their workshop, that the traditional search, what we learned about how to use keywords, how to search and manage the different results in the Google search feed, is actually changing. Now we all see that we see a shortcut AI answers, and if we like to search more, of course we can do it. But as we can see is that it's very hard to gather the real source, so the original source, because students have this oral reliance these days for the easier, quicker solutions generated by AI. And it's very hard to actually check the real original content, which can lead to more reliable and credible information seeking. So what we already see is that this field is changing, and we should develop more the students' reading comprehension and critical thinking. And there are mixed results on this field, how AI changes it, but I will circle back to this issue with the problem-solving area. On the communication and collaboration field, we see that who do we actually communicate and collaborate with? So as I have mentioned, when we used computers earlier or conducted an internet search, we had a proper tool set to how to do so, using keywords, using different search strings, for example. But these days, everything is via chat, even in oral form as well. So you don't really need to communicate differently with these AI models or with your technological devices. Actually, you communicate it with them like you would do it with your peers. Of course, there are certain elements which you can include to your prompt to get better or accurate results. But as these models are changing, actually, we see that it will disappear because these agents actually will be your buddies or friends, as Brent has mentioned already. And what we already see from research results that these AI-mediated or generated interactions can weaken the quality and authenticity and also the accountability of human relationships. What we see from the COVID-19 periods that these communication channels, of course, changed a lot with Teams, Zoom, and other platforms are becoming the reality of the everydays. But what we also see that students don't really know netiquette, so they don't really know how to behave, how to adjust their communication to the receiver, and also there are a lot of issues on the field of communication these days related to vocabulary and other oral communication forms. And if we use AI to generate our emails, when will be the point when you need to write your email on your own without an AI agent? Will you be able to do it, actually? And this is this codependence which Brent has mentioned earlier, that without these AI agents, you actually lose your skills, formulate and articulate your arguments in an email or in a letter. So over-reliance on the field of communication and collaboration can lead to new challenges in education. Let's have a look at content creation, since creating an email is also content creation, but does AI actually affect creativity, or how does it affect creativity? Last year, Annika Beretsky had a session related to creativity, and we already seen that it is mixed. So there are certain ways we can actually boost creativity. We discussed this with our colleagues before this conference, that there are parts of our presentation which were generated by AI, such as the logo of the conference, for example, or other aspects what you can see for illustrations. And actually, the limits of creating designs and new things with AI is the limits of your imagination these days. So we can see that it can really produce any content within seconds, but you need to create an environment which boosts and seeks out for creativity. And it is very important, and we already have some research on the field, to create an environment when we apply these targeted strategies in education to replace these passive instruction models or setups with more interaction and more opportunities to be more creative and critical. And of course, we have mentioned this multiple times today as well, but I would like to highlight the area of safety, well-being, and responsible use, area 4 of the DigComp framework. How can we protect ourselves? So as you might have seen from many spam letters, that these scams, social engineering methods, and a lot of things are developing rapidly by the use of AI. So actually behind the curtains, we see that AI models are already fighting, like in the Terminator, in other movies which we have peeked in previously, because Microsoft and other technological providers actually creating AI models for our protection, but there are certain groups who are using AI models, robots, to actually target us, and actually they are fighting their battles behind the curtains. So what we see today is that, of course, it's not just about protecting our data, but it's about protecting our well-being. So these AI-based algorithms in social media, for example, are actually having a huge impact on our political views, on our ideas, or our views of the world. And within all of these algorithms, we can see AI models developing and affecting our mental well-being very much these days. And of course, to challenge this issue, the field of education's job will it be. And lastly, problem identification and solving, and I'm running out of time, so I will be very brief on this last part. So actually, who solves the problem? So it is an issue, what we have seen earlier, that these automatic solutions can significantly weaken the user's own problem-solving thinking and also critical thinking skills. And what we see already from some research, that there are mixed findings. So if a lecturer or educator creates an environment when we actually use these agents, these tools, to boost our creativity and critical thinking, it can have a positive effect. But when we see as a kind of a homework or without any instructional support or facilitation from an educator, from a teacher, it can have serious negative effects. So the research on this field is still developing. So actually, I don't want to overstate these issues. We actually know nothing about the real changes on this field, but what we see already, the problems and the challenges, and there are very interesting research topics for the master and doctoral students here in the future. So just to quickly close this presentation, I would like to highlight 4 aspects as a key takeaway from this presentation and also for today's conference, that AI amplifies the capability but erodes the agency unless learners are equipped with deliberate structured competencies such as critical thinking, reading comprehension, and other actually very basic skills. Readiness of the educational system and society is very important. And we don't see that we are ready in this moment, but we need to catch up very soon because these vast individual differences, this widening digital divide, what we already see, is only education as a comprehensive system can adjust these very large and complex issues. So educational institutions both have the reach and the mandate to intervene at a scale, whether it's for adult learning and education, whether it's for higher education, or whether it's for public education, or even kindergarten to start at the very beginning. So the reason why I promoted this DigComp 3 framework, because it's already, so it's updated, it was updated last year, so it's already aligned with the AI literacy framework and actually deals with this issue, but it's a transforming era, so maybe it needed to be updated in a few years. But actually it gives us a scientifically grounded and practically actionable framework for educators. But of course, teachers and lecturers will be crucial to make sure that we are very committed to make sure that we can make change and we can address these challenges which I have mentioned. So thank you very much for your kind attention.